On Rhodes in 280 BC, a figure stood 110 feet tall, 33 meters, 70 cubits, on a 50-foot stone base above the harbor. He was not stone. He was metal over an iron frame built to honor the sun god Helios. 54 years after the last plate was hammered, the earth moved in 226 BC. The frame cracked at the knees and the giant fell where he stood. For 900 years his pieces stayed on the ground. People sailed to see them. A Roman writer said each finger was larger than a full statue elsewhere. No king dared lift him again after the oracle at Delphi warned against it. That fallen giant is one of the 7 wonders. The other 6 show why a city would leave a god on the ground. Greek travelers around 100 BC made a list. They sailed from Egypt to Asia Minor and wrote which sites were worth the trip. A poet from Sidon named Antipater wrote a poem between 140 and 100 BC naming 7 sites. He named the walls of Babylon, the Pyramid at Giza, the Statue of Zeus, and the gardens. He also named the temple at Ephesus, the tomb at Halicarnassus, and the giant at Rhodes. An engineer named Philo of Byzantium made another version later. He dropped the walls and added the lighthouse at Alexandria, and that version stuck. The Greek word was theomata, things to be seen, not a prize but a guide. It only made sense while all 7 stood together, an overlap that lasted less than 60 years. After that, one by one they vanished and only one remains where you can stand. The survivor stands west of the Nile at Giza. Pharaoh Khufu, called Cheops, ordered it around 2580 to 2560 BC as a sealed tomb. It started at 481 feet, 146.6 meters. Today it stands 454 feet, 138.5 meters, seen from Cairo. Base is 755 feet each side, 230 meters, 13 acres. Builders placed about 2.3 million limestone blocks. Most weigh 2.5 tons. A pickup truck, granite beams weigh up to 80 tons, 4 elephants. Villagers worked 20 years under Hemiunu. 2 ideas compete for the lift. Ramps dragging stones on sleds over wet sand or levers, but neither explains the precision. White Tura limestone was shipped across the river with joints nearly vanished. Base is level within an inch across 755 feet. Sides point north within 1/10 of a degree. In 2013, the Diary of Merer was found, a log-moving stone by boat. In 1303, a quake shook the casing loose and Cairo builders stripped it. It was tallest on Earth for 3,800 years, until Lincoln Cathedral passed it in 1311. Next is the garden that may never have stood where we think. Greek stories put it in Babylon on the Euphrates. It was built around 600 BC by Nebuchadnezzar II for his wife Amytis, who missed green hills. The plan was vaulted terraces holding soil for trees. The hill rose at least 75 feet, about 7 stories, with trees giving the effect of hanging. Robert Koldewey dug the palace from 1899 to 1917 and found walls but no vaults strong enough for a watered hill. Nebuchadnezzar left inscriptions listing walls and temples, but gardens are not on them, and Herodotus never mentioned them. Oxford researcher Stephanie Daly read Assyrian tablets for 2 decades and argued the garden was 300 miles north at Nineveh near Mosul. There, King Sennacherib built terraces around 700 BC, a century earlier, with an artificial marsh and aqueducts. He also described a bronze screw that lifts water in a spiral tube, the device Greeks later called the Archimedes screw. That bronze screw would have moved about 8,200 gallons a day, with terraces lined in brick and asphalt. The lighthouse at Alexandria guided ships to a flat coast. It stood on Pharos Island, where the harbor opened. King Ptolemy I ordered it. His son Ptolemy II finished it around 280 BC, and the architect was Sostratus of Cnidus. He carved his own name deep and hid it under plaster with the king's name on top. The tower rose more than 100 meters, 103 to 118 meters, 338 to 387 feet, about 30 stories. It had 3 stages, square base, octagonal middle, and cylinder for fire. At night, fire burned. By day, a bronze mirror reflected sun and ships saw light near 30 miles away, about London to Brighton. It stood more than 1,600 years. Quakes in 956, 1303, and 1323 broke it, and by 1375, it was rubble. In the 1480s, Sultan Qaitbay used blocks for a fort on the same rock. Divers find blocks on the seabed, 22 pieces raised with sphinxes. The statue of Zeus sat in his temple at Olympia in western Greece. It was made around 435 BC by Phidias, who carved Athena in the Parthenon, to honor Zeus at the home of the games. The figure was seated and measured about 12.4 meters, 41 feet, as tall as a 4-story house if he stood. Core was wood, with flesh of thin ivory plates and robes of hammered gold. Throne was cedar inlaid with ebony, ivory, gold, and gems. In the right hand he held a small winged Nike about 6 feet tall. In the left, a scepter topped with an eagle. Priests oiled ivory to stop cracking and lit lamps for glow. In 1954 to 1958, excavators found Phidias' workshop where Pausanias said it stood, with floor plan matching the inner room. They found tools, ivory offcuts, molds for gold, and a black cup scratched "I belong to Phidias" on the bottom. One story says it was taken to Constantinople and burned with the Palace of Lausus in 475 AD. Another says it burned with the temple in 425 AD after pagan worship was banned. No sure copy survives, only coins and descriptions. The Temple of Artemis stood at Ephesus near Selkuk, about 50 kilometers south of Izmir, on marshy ground. The first shrine dates to around 800 BC and was lost to flood in the 7th century. The wonder was built around 550 BC by architects Chersiphron and his son Metagenes, and paid for by King Croesus, for wealth. Platform was about 115 meters by 55 meters, 377 by 180 feet, longer than a football field and 4 times the Parthenon. It had 127 Ionic columns, each 17.5 meters, 58 feet. On July 21st in 356 BC, Herostratus set fire to the wooden roof to make his name live forever. It failed, and rumor says Alexander the Great was born that same night. Ephesians rebuilt larger, taking about 120 years to finish around 323 BC. That second building is the Wonder and stood about 600 years. Goths burned it in 262 AD, and Christians quarried marble for lime. Today, one lonely column stands in a swamp and carved drums sit in the British Museum. The tomb at Halicarnassus rose where Bodrum stands on the Turkish coast. It was built between 353 and 350 BC for Persian satrap Mausoleum and his wife and sister Artemisia II after his death. Architects were Satyros and Pythias. The building stood about 45 meters, 148 feet, about 14 stories. It had a podium of 36 columns and a step pyramid roof holding a 4-horse marble chariot. White marble came from nearby islands, and 400 statues filled the grounds. Each of the 4 sides had a different master: Leochares, Bryaxis, Scopas, and Timotheus. The word mausoleum comes from mausolus and still names large tombs. It survived Alexander in 334 BC and stood whole for 16 centuries. Quakes from the 12th to 15th century broke roof and columns. Between 1494 and 1522, the Knights of St. John took blocks to build Bodrum Castle that still guards the harbor. Marble pieces show in the castle walls and reliefs stand in the British Museum. Only foundations remain on site. Midday at Ephesus now is quiet and bright. One column stands alone in tall grass over a shallow swamp where marble once shone. Weeds grow between stones where a lizard rests on rock. Wind moves over the outline where walls once rose. No fire burns and no crowd gathers in the heat. It is a reminder that large works do not end with a single blow. They end with forgetting, stone by stone, until only a shape in the ground and a word remain. Back on Rhodes, the metal man waited. He was Helios, made by chairs of Lindos from Lysippos. The city built him between 292 and 280 BC, 12 years, after holding off Demetrius the besieger. He left bronze engines behind. The city melted for the god. He stood at one harbor edge, not across the mouth. He measured 70 cubits, 33 meters, 110 feet, on a 50-foot stone pedestal, with an iron frame inside. An earth ramp rose as plates were joined. In 226 BC, a quake snapped the frame at the knees, and bronze crumpled to ground. Ptolemy III offered to raise him, but Delphi warned against it, so he stayed where he fell for 900 years. Romans wrote the thumb was thicker than a man's waist. In 653 AD, Arabs under Muawiyah I raided the island and took it. A story by Theophanes says the remains were sold to a Jewish merchant of Edessa. The bronze was loaded on 900 camels for the road to Syria. Of 7 sites, only the pyramid still holds height. The rest is fall, fire, and reuse. Skill can lift a mountain in earth, or war can return it to parts a person can carry.